had one comment from YouTube. Can you imagine? And by the way, I just saw we are live right now. Hi guys, hi everyone. People will join us with time, but I just saw your post. Video content is and has always been the alpha,
Yeah.
and that you can compete with text and AI, but that's why you need to do video content, right?
Mm.
Should we expect pausa with the video content?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, there's a reason why I posted that too. I think it's gonna be a huge chunk of my content for the honestly the next part of my brand. So yeah, definitely exploring a lot more video, but I encourage other creators as well. Like do streams, do video, even spaces. Like spaces is not necessarily video, but it does show your voice a lot, you know? So yeah,
Yeah,
there's so many ways to it. Yeah.
and I feel like, but at first I want to ask, have you seen this insanely realistic new videos where guys like interviewing each other with AI? That's
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah.
Like,
It is. And you know, that's funny because when I posted that today, I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like AI video is actually going to be pretty close to like real, humans filming it for each other. But it's something scary, but it's kind of cool at the same time, right? Because it really gets the details and the quality on point. So yeah,
yeah.
AI video is going to be insane. I believe in that too.
I really want to see more cinematographic
Mm,
videos, and projects maybe, because now it's super possible. If you have this, ideas in your head, I think it's possible to create something like this, like full movies or something. I think it's super fun. But
yeah.
anyway, I see some guys already watching it, so let's start. And you know why? Actually, I came up with the idea to invite you. So we collaborated with Kazi, right? I'm Kazi ambassador, and they sent me video on Discord, and like at first it's like pictures, and just voice, and I recognize your voice, and I'm like, how it's even possible? I can recognize BAWSA, and that's huge, that's huge achievement that people can recognize your voice, and your voice at some point became a voice of many many brands. And if I think about spaces, I think about you, and I also see you constantly on spaces, yeah, like you all the time. Are you even sleeping? Like, so tell me how you actually achieved it, and yeah, tell me about your way in crypto. And
Yeah.
I also know that was into music and everything, so I feel this discussion today will be super interesting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And first of all, I love, I was just taking a look at your profile too, Ira, and I love how you're presenting yourself. Like you're
thank
such a
you,
lively, like bright person, and that always sticks out in like crypto, So much respect to you as well.
thank you.
Um, yeah,
I
and
feel like I have today such a bit temperature because I was yesterday all day in a cabrio car, so I
ah,
feel like so this kind of words today really
yeah.
make me feel
No, this is
happy. Thank you
awesome.
so
This is
much.
awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And I love your question as well because I get asked this time and time again, and I feel like my responses change. But I think one, first I'll kind of explain like why I got into spaces. So like in 2023, that's when I kind of decided to go full time like Web3. And I'll talk about my music career here in just a sec, but I paused on my music side of things to kind of pursue going full time creator because honestly at the time, I feel like at that point in my life, I wanted to explore something different outside of music. And so NFTs and Web3 kind of just came to me at that right moment. And so I remember hopping on X or Twitter was known as once before, and Spaces were kind of like it's not that it was big already, but it was still kind of like this underrated part of X where not a lot of people were utilizing it, right?
Yeah,
But I listened to a lot of great space hosts like Leap, for an example. Leap
yeah,
remains to be one of my biggest like inspirations when it comes to space hosting. Um, but as I was listening to spaces like Leaps and many others, I realized literally what you were just saying, Ira, is like there's this brand ability of attaching your voice to a profile picture, and people will start to eventually recognize you if you're consistent. And so I realized though, and especially here with AI and crypto, like crypto is a very anonymous environment, right? We literally have a few people showcasing their face nowadays. And so to me, I realized how important that is in today's generation of like having to actually show authenticity. And how do you do that in an
Mhm.
environment like crypto where everything is so anonymous? And so I figured, okay, let me do space hosting because one, I actually enjoy like conversations like this. I love like being able to have one-on-ones or just talk about anything really, like life, whatever content, whatever it may be. But two, I realized that by attaching a voice to my brand, people will eventually start to recognize me, or just in general, they start to attach a more memorable feel to my brand. And so that's kind of like the main reason why I decided to pursue it. And luckily enough, outside of that focus, outside of that mission, Spaces alone has opened up so many different opportunities for myself, from like working with Unfungible to meeting founders to creating and connecting with creators that I never thought I would be able to connect with. And so Spaces has really opened this door for me that I believe wouldn't have been possible if I had just stuck to written content. So there's so
But
much power to it. Yeah.
That's interesting part because I it took time for me to discover spaces because my English was much worse like
Mm,
2 years ago, and that's why I was scared to attend on someone else's spaces, and I decided to open my own, and I decided that it would be a great idea if we will sing on spaces, and I really needed some support, so I decided I will be drink and sing on spaces. So that's how Drunk Space was born, and to gain audience that I have right now, like right now on my weekly spaces, it's 200 and more people. But to gain this audience, it took like 2 years for real.
yeah.
Like it took a long time, and especially collaborate with this type of spaces for me was complicated before because it's not like format. We didn't talk about projects, etc. So how it started for you actually? How you started to collaborate with Unfungible, for example,
Mm.
and how you guys connect, how it was for you.
Yeah, yeah. So I got approached by Leon, which is, the
Yeah.
founder and CEO at Unfungible. I got approached by him towards the later end of 2023. I would say around like maybe November. And I remember because he was tuning into one of my spaces at Brick by Brick. And he kind of just reached out to me and was like, hey, like I have this idea. We can do like spaces as a service, etc. And so the thing is though, is that that conversation wouldn't have sparked if I wasn't consistent with my spaces, right? And again, I think there's a huge like concept around consistency and why it's so important. And so I feel
Yeah.
like if I didn't bet on myself, if I didn't take that risk to like go do something different, which at the time was spaces, then I wouldn't have stood out amongst all these other creators. And I remember at the time, I was still a small creator. I was probably around only like 3K, 5K followers.
Mhm.
And so Spaces has really, in a sense, skyrocketed my growth. And that's why I believe like, sitting right now at around 30K followers, like I almost believe I have a different connection with my audience because I met the majority of them through spaces, versus like me discovering them through written content. And so I feel like that connection is so important. But yeah, that's how it kind of came about with Unfungible. Was
Mhm.
towards the end of 2023. Yeah.
Was you started where you started your blog with doxed face with the doxed personality, or you was like everyone else anonymous and everything like this?
Yeah, it's funny you mention this because I actually like it's not that I had the intent to like purposely dox. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you go through some of my old content, sometimes I'll post myself like just at like getting a haircut, and like I'll actually show my face, but it's not the idea to dox. It's just like I'm just doing like I don't know, like I'm just at the barber shop getting a haircut and I just want to post myself at the barber shop, right? So I kind of started off in that way, but then I started to really understand, especially like I don't know about you, but like when I see people do like fit pics, like when they post like their outfit is for the day, right? Usually that gets a lot more engagement because
Yeah.
maybe it involves like showing your face and it's showing more personality. So like I started to see a huge difference in like metrics and engagement. So that's
Mhm.
why I kind of started to lean heavily as of recent into like video content, showing more personality, taking photos and stuff like that.
That's actually interesting because for me, I don't think I knew how you look like before, like, I don't know, a few months ago,
Mhm.
because you started to publish video content, more video content, something like this. So I feel like you're building your brand in absolutely unique way because you think you talk about culture a lot. Also, recently you started to talk about visuals much more. I think, and you
Mhm.
created this calligraphic, your own style, that you post in very beautiful pictures and everything. So I think your style from the start is outstanding, even without doxing. We know that BAWSA is different. Also, I really like that you sharing your personal stories all the time. That we know what is on background, and you know what I noticed, that you never follow the trends, like
Mm.
when everyone like using this, all creators go to this field, like when abstract appeared, like every creator is talking about abstract, but I haven't noticed this type of behavior for you. I don't say that it's bad, but you don't do this. is
Yeah.
it is it like like you made this choice, or you just don't like, you take a time to watch the project, to dive into it, or how it's working for you? And
Yeah.
does it prevent you from achieve like more audience, or not?
Yeah. These are really great questions, Ira. And first of all, I really appreciate the kind words. Like, and to tackle your first one, like, is this a purpose decision? Do I do this on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the other day, I tweeted this thought, and it's something. It's almost like a philosophy of mine. Is only dead fish go with the flow. And
Yes,
and
yes.
this quote is like it's supposed to showcase of like how I view Web3 sometimes, or honestly, majority of the times is like I feel Web3 has this sheep mentality where people will only follow trends because it's the next shiny object. Or
Mhm.
like in crypto, in most cases, it's a financial incentive, right? People just want to make money in the space. And I get it, man. Like I honestly still am in that same boat. But I would say as of recent, I really started to kind of graduate from that monetary mindset
Mhm.
and really stick to my own beliefs and what I think is right. And so and like you mentioned, this is why I don't like to necessarily follow what everyone else is doing. And it's not to be like this black sheep where oh, boss, like I want to stand out, I want to do this. No, it's really not that intent. It's personally just I observe, and if I don't really genuinely feel like this doesn't align with me, then why would I pursue it? And I feel like a lot of creators in this space sacrifice their brand to be a part of a trend when in reality, that's like the worst decision you can do for your brand, right? And so I observe, and you mentioned abstract. I honestly was a little bit on the abstract train back in like February when it was really popping off because I
Mhm.
wanted to capitalize on a lot of the projects. But even now reflecting on it, I'm like, that was still me just sticking true to my morals, but I only wanted to work with a select few of abstract projects. I didn't want to work with everybody. So that's kind of like my perspective on it. But I think it's so important for everyone in Web3 to think for themselves. I feel like not everyone really knows how to think for themselves. And so that's why like having your own opinion, when people say do your own research, do your own due diligence, like it's such a overrated like phrase to say because not a lot of people do it. But when you actually have your own opinion on things and you stick by it, you actually, in my opinion, like you have my respect over those that are just following what everyone else is saying, and you're doing it because it's hype, it's the next big thing. So that's why
Mhm.
again, I just want to be leading by example to creators that you guys can think for yourselves and you can still be successful. You don't have to follow what everyone else is doing. And I remember your second question is like, do I feel like this is preventing me from a lot of opportunities? I honestly do believe so, but at the same time, it's like I
Mhm.
have this mindset where there's always going to be the next opportunity, and
Yeah.
not every opportunity is meant for you. I look at these opportunities sometimes as like bait, like it's like you're being baited to want to like dive into something even though you know yourself that this isn't for you. You're kind of
Yeah.
being
Yes.
baited to want to try it out. So I
Yeah.
always have that mindset of like, okay, if I miss this opportunity now, that's okay, right? Maybe I can do my own little twist to it, maybe add my own little originality to it, but I'm not going to sacrifice my own morals and beliefs for that opportunity. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yes, and I highly respect it, and I feel so much FOMO myself, you know. But again, when you're in the space for a long time, you will see that right opportunities will come exactly to you when you're
Mm,
doing what you love constantly, and that's why it's better to focus on yourself and don't lose the track, because it's like, you know, I'm super bullish in Web3, and I feel like we'll have so many projects. So it's just you know, it's no any point to have FOMO right now because of some projects. It's better because it will be so many projects in your field, what interests you. So better uh, to raise your voice and care about your voice in the field that you really enjoy and like. For
yeah,
example, for me, it's anime, and I was away from this. Like, I started to make videos about anime, then something happens. I don't remember what exactly, but not abstract. It was before, and I was distracted by this because it was like, you know, maybe I need to do this stuff, maybe I need to do this stuff. But then I realized, like, come on, like, it's better to be focused on something that interests you, because by distracting by many factors, you lose more opportunities that you
yeah,
earn, because you can't, you know, you can build your own brand based on, you know, when you jump in from one to another. So talking about this, what do you think about Kaita stuff? Do you feel like it's right for the space and it did right for the space, or you feel like many creators right now, they trying to, you know, write about all this project and they lose their own voice? So what do you
yeah.
think about Kaita?
Yeah, I shared my thoughts on this. I think like 2 days ago, I made a post as well. Like, I think everyone's calling it InfoFi, right? Everyone's calling this meta like InfoFi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've been seeing a lot of takes on it as well. I think Loshmi shared an opinion today where he said like, um, I see a lot of people hating on InfoFi because they see creators making $1,000 out of the blue and stuff like that. Here's my take on it: is like I think Kaito actually proliferated content in Web3. It actually paved an opportunity for both bigger creators and smaller creators to make, money from posting about such brand or such project, right? The thing
Mm-hmm.
though that it did kill, in my opinion, is that it killed the creativity in Web3. Because when you look at all these like Kaito posts and these InfoFi content, a lot of it is just it's like a recycled jargon of what was already shared previously, and like I follow whale.swoosh and like Beast ICO, where in my opinion, like these two individuals alone are the only individuals you need to follow when it comes to InfoFi. And I feel like everyone else is just reiterating their content and copying their content. And like that's the issue is everyone is posting about the same thing, but not everyone is making the effort to make it look different, you know? Hence my point is like InfoFi killed creativity. It didn't kill content. It proliferated why creators should be creating, right? But in my opinion, too, at the end of the day, these brands are the only ones that are winning at the end of the day because everything's about mind share, everything's about attention nowadays. And so if you get creators and KOLs talking about your project, who's really winning? Yes, KOLs are making money, right? But if attention and mind share is a long-term reward, then theoretically these brands are winning more than these creators.
Of
So
course, yes.
that's how I kind of view this whole Kaito InfoFi thing is like, I respect those that are trying to make a bag. I think it's awesome when I see people make money
Mhm.
through this whole Kaito thing. But again, it's like when I take a scroll through some of these accounts, it almost feels like they're a billboard. It almost feels like they're just like it's like a nonstop like shills of like this project's doing this is coming out in June, TGE this, TGE that. But like where is the personality in that?
Yeah.
Where's the creativity? Where's your authenticity? Where's the originality in that? So that's kind of like my perspective in this whole Kaito thing. But I just I don't want to come off as like this like like this like this old head in crypto that's like, oh, boss is just a hater. I'm not like I'm really just again sticking to what I believe is cool and what I think is dope. And I feel like if creators can learn to lean into one niche, right? If I'm gonna leave a tip for people that are doing this, like just master one or two niches where you feel like you can really dominate in this whole Kaito InfoFi thing, and then build your brand around that. You don't have to dive into every single narrative, every single project that comes out. So that's my take on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also noticed that you don't even try to be like whale. You don't even try to make this, posts that will gain a lot of views. You're just being yourself, and that's enough. But how you actually gain it? Because, not many people like have this personality to show, personality to just have this. mm yeah, maybe it's brave to show your personality, not only about talk only about crypto news, etc. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, I also noticed that Kaite don't really respect as I mean, as a
Mm,
system, creative content. So maybe that's why also people, writing the same words, just another, just correct them a bit in AI and just push on their pages. But yeah, how you actually built your brand so unique, and do you think it's the same for you and would be the same for you back then, and if you start today, or
yeah,
today
and
it's more complicated?
this is like another great question, Ira. Is like, I feel like within the past 3 to 4 years now in
Mhm.
Web3, there's been a plethora of both like new people joining the space, but also like the same individuals that I like kind of hustled with back in like 2022 and 2023. I would say a good handful of them are still here in this space, and like, for example, like Shiv, one of like my favorite like creators on the timeline right now, like seeing him grow from like 5K followers to where he is today around like 50K. Like, I almost feel like there's like this class of 2022, 2023
Mhm.
creators that, and I feel like I was a part of that class. But aside from that point, I think there's so many ways to stand out as a creator nowadays. You either, I see this common tip. It's like you master one niche and then you expand, you go from there. Honestly, like for me though, before I found my niche, which was like space hosting, I guess like that's my
Mhm.
niche. I tried so many different things when I was first starting. Like, I remember one of my first threads that blew me up was like, I made a thread about the brands and the visuals and the marketing in the space. And I remember that was like one of my most viral threads ever. And that's what kind of like put my brand, my name out there in the content world. And so I started experimenting with threads, and then everyone started doing threads. And I was like, okay, what do I need to be doing different now since everyone's doing threads?
Wait,
Oh,
wait, that's interesting. It pisses you off when people start copying you and when you are in the trend, yes?
yeah, it does, but like, what is that phrase? It's like, imitation is the nicest form of flattery, or something like that, right? Something like that. There's a saying like that, So I try my best not to be salty. And again,
Mhm.
I don't want to take credit for things that I feel like people are doing because of me. Like, I think it's so it's kind of like you're narcissistic in my opinion. Like, if you're thinking that you're the reason why a trend started. I try my best to be humble all the times, but yeah. Sorry, did you want to say something? I don't
No,
know.
this is actually interesting. Don't you think like all creators a bit narcissistic because we for some reason we choose profession where we like should be on the public and we want our voice is super important voice. Don't you think like
Yeah,
it is like this?
and you see, this is where it gets interesting, Ira, because I'm not gonna say certain names, but like, there
Mm,
are certain people in this space that recently blew up because of abstract. And just because they have a huge following now, I noticed that they started moving differently. They started talking differently. They started acting differently.
yeah.
And it's funny because I have this draft in my content where I literally say, some of you guys started getting followers and started acting differently. Like, and I'm keeping note of that, And so it's one of those things again, Myra, where it's like, you're going back to your question, right? Like, how do you stand out? How do I do this? You have to just strictly stick true to yourself. Like, if you really want to be known for you, why would you sacrifice and go pursue other beliefs and other morals that you don't believe in? So it's like, I remember your question. It's like, would it be different if I started today? Honestly, my approach would probably still be very similar to how I grew and where I was today.
Mhm.
Um, because, and here's the thing too, Ira, you mentioned like previously, there's so many brands, especially in the future Web3. There's gonna be so many new projects, so many brands. And I feel the best way to position yourself as a creator when this happens, and even right now, as it is happening, the best way to position yourself as a creator is to be a creator that is not afraid to one, do video content, do streams, do spaces like this, because AI is only increasing and growing. But what does that mean? That means human authenticity is going to be even more important now, because everyone hates, or I don't know if I would say hate is a strong word, but like everyone kind of dislikes when people can tell that this your content was written by AI, or if your content was filmed by AI video, whatever it may be, right?
Mhm.
But the strongest connection, in my opinion, is that human interaction. Nothing will ever beat a human interaction. It's the most natural form, human tendency that we have as humans. And so if I feel you're able to create that and position yourself as a creator in this space that has a personality, is original, is authentic, you have your own thoughts, you remain true to yourself, that's how you position yourself to win in today's creator economy. And that's where how I'm trying to position myself.
That's solid point. That's interesting. But you said one point that made me ask another question. You said like you have a draft and you didn't
Mhm.
publish it yet, or didn't publish it, at all. How often you censor yourself, and do you think our space is completely, like super censored? Because I have this feeling, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like not everyone can publish their honest opinion, and I sometimes think like 10 times before publishing something, even if it's my true opinion. I think like, on the head, like, okay, but I
Yeah.
need to do this and this and this, and people will think this and this. Do you think it's good for the space, and how you censorship, how it's work for you?
Yeah.
You do the space.
So on paper, I feel like it's really about the wording, because but then here's the thing again. It's like sometimes when I'm writing my own content, I want it to sound like when you read my content, I want it to sound like you can hear my voice when you read my content. And I think that's another tip for creators. Like
Yeah,
when
that's
when 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 I read your content, I want to hear Ira, I want to hear Shiv, I want to hear your voice. But and to add on top of that, like this whole censorship thing, I think it stems from like this idea of wanting to protect our reputation in the space. But I'll
yeah.
give you an example, Ira. Just I think it was like Thursday last week. It was back when Final BAWSA was revealing, right? And I noticed that there was like this pocket full of Azuki PFPs that weren't really giving their full support on Final BAWSA, and they were kind of like giving FUD and constructive criticism. And so I remember at nighttime, because usually at nighttime, I don't know why I stay up so late, and my best ideas come at night. But I was
Mhm.
writing content for the next day, and I remember scheduling a post about content tips for like that was my original like idea. I was like, okay, tomorrow morning I want to schedule a post about content. But then I started writing a hot take about these Azuki PFPs and why I feel like anime is so siloed, and it was kind of like this controversial take on anime. And I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? I want to post this one instead, because this feels more like my thoughts. And I
Mhm.
feel like when you share your thoughts, especially when it's tied to a narrative that is trending, or a narrative that is popular right now in the timeline, I want to share my thoughts. And so I scheduled it in the morning. I went to sleep, and usually I wake up like hours later in the day. And I remember waking up to my phone, and what's so funny is not only did I see a ton of engagement from Azuki communities, but I
Mhm.
noticed that the impressions on this post alone was far more higher and significant than all of my other content that I've been talking about this past week. And so
Mhm.
when did that tell me? It
I
told me that,
remember this post. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I don't know
you
if you
did
had.
it. You didn't just post your opinion. You did a smart thing on my, like I think right now. You asked everyone a question, like, guys, do you think like this and this
Mm,
and this? You just
yeah,
that's a smart too. When you feel
yeah.
something controversial, maybe you just need to ask people about this.
Yeah, and you see, that's the thing, like, you have to
Yeah.
look at X as a conversation app. Like, that's really what we're doing on 24/7. Like, this is a place to have conversations. And so you're right. I feel like if we're giving strategies and tips around if you want to do this type of content, like,
Mhm.
ask the hard questions. Even if you feel like people are gonna like say the most craziest thing. I think we need more of that, if anything, right? And if anything, like people are going to be more inclined to share harder questions because they see everyone else asking the harder questions. And again, it goes back to my belief, Ira, which is like lead by example, right? If there's a pocket full of creators that are scared or they feel censored, but if I'm the one that is taking that risk and doing it for them, maybe I can give them the confidence boost to be like, hey guys, maybe you should share more of your hot takes because it's good for this space. It's healthy for the space. You know, I feel like in Web3, there's this constant like unhealthy feedback of, wag me, only positive vibes, only good vibes. But, I'm not trying to say I'm trying to bring bad vibes, but it's like we need the constructive criticism. We need the harder, these founders, these teams, they need to be asked the hard questions, you know?
Mhm.
So that was kind of like my whole intent with that Azuki thing was just like, I just wanted to gather sentiment. I didn't want to instill FUD or showcase FUD. I just had a genuine question. And that was like my best post of that day. So yeah, that's where I kind of learned from that.
Yeah, I really think like asking your questions is super important. And I remember even one guy told me like he's just guy from my audience, from people who follow me, and he said like, Ira, I need more conversations from you. I need more posts
Mm,
where I can engage. So and I was like, I didn't answer to him, I think, but I thought about this comment like over and over again, and I came up with the idea. Yes, I need to talk more. I just needed to understand how it will be working for me exactly, how I can ask question, what question interested me to ask from people, etc. So yeah, that's feedback from your community sometimes super important. And do you listen people who following you? And I bet like I think like you have these people. I think we talk also about controversial
mm.
side of the space who maybe criticized you. Do you have these people around or had maybe?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And if anything, I actually appreciate when people give like this criticism to my content because, like, I would rather have that versus 100 people saying good stuff, like great stuff, all the time. It just doesn't feel real. So yeah, like I appreciate when people give constructive criticism. Yeah.
I agree with you. I also think like this type of behavior, when you have environment that only telling you that you're great, they literally can kill you by it. And I
Yeah.
saw a lot of this happening with founders because they had this surround like, oh, your project's so good. So a person actually think that his project's so good, don't need any improvement and nothing. And after time, you see how this project failed because I feel real people with real opinions so important in the space.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about people and their behavior and the audience in general? Because we have sometimes this drama on the space. And what I noticed, like from recent conflict, for example, with Loki, you definitely
Yeah.
know about this. I don't ask your opinion about this, but I'm just telling you that I noticed that the bigger you become, if you're a person or if you're a project or just, you someone who has big audience already, some people want you to fail. Some people want you to make mistake and they're waiting for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's people that you didn't expect this from them. So how do you see this behavior? How do you see this audience behavior on your page, and how it's for you? Most of the people still supportive, or how it's actually working? What do you
Yeah.
think?
First of all, I 100% agree with you. I feel like honestly, like social media celebrates when people win, but I feel like when people lose, that's when you see like the other side of humans that you never thought, especially like you mentioned, right? Like especially from some people in this space, like you would have never expected that from a certain individual, but then when they do it, you're like, holy crap! Like I was never expecting that from someone. And I feel like there's this predatory behavior sometimes in Web
Yeah.
three where it's like you said it really well, Ira. Is like they're almost waiting for you to fail. They're almost waiting for you to slip up. And then the moment you slip up, they just go for your neck and they're going, they're trying to tarnish you. They're trying to ruin everything that you've done. And like I don't know if this is PTSD from like project NFT founders like rugging their projects, but like I feel 90% of FUD stems from the bad experiences that we face with like people losing money and like people, just losing just kind of like whatever it is that is at stake for them. And
Mhm.
so this is where again it's like I honestly I really like when I look at my crypto friends, I would say I don't really have much. Like as far as like real like friends that I consider as like real genuine friends. The thing here with like Web3 is everyone kind of has like a boundary around them.
Mhm.
And so you can't let everyone cross your boundaries. And if you do, does this person come off or cross over in a disrespectful way, or are they trying to connect with you and actually become a good friend, or are they just trying to connect with you in general and just get to know you? So there's so many different types of approaches when it comes to like the friendship building side of this space, right? Is like I think everyone should have boundaries, but I don't think you should be too, like, for example, it's like I think of like Attack on Titan, like the wall of, what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, like it shouldn't be that high. I think it should be high enough to where you feel like your identity and who you are as a person is protected. But if someone is reaching out to you for the sake of connection and they want to, become friends, then you should let them in. But if someone is crossing over your boundaries where they're saying hateful comments, whatever the things that we're describing right now, then that's a whole different scenario, right? Like learn how to keep these people out. So I think it's important as individuals in this space that you
Mhm.
kind of have like this subconscious radar. It's almost like it's like a radar in your head where it's like, oh, I can kind of tell this person's kind of just using me because of my platform. I can tell this person's just following me because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you know. And one of the best ways to tell this, Ira, is like whitelist, right? You mentioned something very well, a good point earlier is like
Mhm.
people will only compliment you because they want to benefit from your project, right? They'll say all these good things like, "Oh, your project is so cool. I love your art. I love your things." But really at the end of the day, what are they here for? They're here for that whitelist spot, you know?
Mhm.
So you have to be able, in my opinion, like as especially as a builder, as a founder, to filter out which feedback is actually genuine and which feedback actually isn't, and which people are actually here to support you and which people are here to extract from you, you know? And this again is like a whole predatory behavior in Web3, but it definitely deserves, it needs to be more addressed, in my opinion. But yeah.
That's a brilliant point. And I really like this conversation because I feel like I'm not alone and feel
Mm,
it too, and someone feel it too. So it's really
yeah.
brilliant. So thank you so much. And then, question that follow previous one, how do you choose then people around you and projects with who you work in? Have you like this already have this sixth sense, and how you actually picking them? Because you have a lot of suggestions. I'm sure you DMs like just just
Mhm.
every second it's the new 10 messages, something like that. So how you actually choosing the project and people? Because networking, like once I even thought like, okay, after really harsh situation, I thought like, okay, networking is not for me. I don't want to trust people here anymore. I don't want to have nothing common with people from Web3. I just will be working, etc. Then I calmed down and I realized, come on, like there are a lot of people, good people around. So you just need to choose with who you will be communicating, like with who you will be networking, and yeah, put more boundaries and work with people who truly like interest you.
Yeah.
So how's for you? How you picking them? Because I don't feel like I learned how to do this properly. So interesting to hear your opinion.
Yeah. So, one of my takes that I said to your previous questions is like
Mhm.
human interaction is the strongest interaction, right? And so for me, when I look at alignment, first of all, like the brand necessarily, like for example, like a bad founder can still create a great brand, right?
100%,
And
yes.
vice versa. A bad brand can be stemmed from a good founder. But
Mhm.
in my opinion, I will always align first with who is the person behind this brand, right? Because I'm all about alignment in beliefs and morals and missions first, before the visual side of your NFT project or the brand, whatever it is, you know? Because I know a lot of people give advice, which is like, oh, if you're going to do partnerships, make sure the brand is aligned with you. I agree, right? But the most important thing before that is, does the team align with you, right? Which is
Mhm,
why, again, like when I'm approached by ambassador deals or like ambassadorship, I and this is the biggest mistake in ambassadorships is people approach these creators with an incentive to like pay them, like, hey, we'll pay you to rock a badge for 3 months, X this, X that. You just have to do this, you have to do that. In my opinion, that's not ambassadorship. You're just paying someone to be your billboard for 3 months and I rock your badge and vice versa. It's very
mhm,
super transactional, you know but if you approach this as a brand, as a founder of whatever it is, and you're trying to get ambassadorships, I personally like when founders or these teams prioritize the relationship first before business. Because what does that tell me? That means they care for me as an individual and they don't look at me as a marketing asset. They don't look at me as just something that they can use and
mhm,
oh, we can use BAWSA for this. No, I don't want that. Ambassadorship should be naturally born from people that are fans because they want to support, not because you're paying them to support you know so I think outside of incentives, like if you're getting approached by brand deals outside of these incentives, I think it's so important to like get a phone call with with a team. Like, who is it that you're going to be working with? That's the most important thing. And
mhm,
then if you can gauge, for example, like our conversation today. I'm loving this conversation, by the way. Like, every single point, like I love this conversation. So my impression of you moving forward, Ira, is like, I love Ira. Like, she's super real. She's super genuine. She's an honest space host, an honest streamer,
mhm,
right? Like, I align with people like that. So therefore, anything that comes out of your brand, out of your profile, I'm gonna support it because I rock with you as a person. So that's the same kind of notion that I have with these brands and these ambassadorships. Is like, before I look at your visuals, before I look at your project, how are you as a person? Can I vibe with you as a person? And then if that checks off, then I do my whole DD research on the project itself. So that's kind of like my process when it comes to like, taking on these deals and etc. But I encourage people, like, always, always, always check the team. Like, who is it that you're working with? And the last thing you want is like to be working with a team that eventually just leaves and rugs the space. That's like
yeah.
the worst case scenario. But yeah,
Yeah, don't put your name next to project that could be rugged, even in theory, because your name will be fucked with it. That's lesson
exactly.
that I learned from my friend. Thankfully, he said to me, I was only 2,000 followers, and he said it to me, and it's still in my head. So don't put your name next to project that you don't know, founders that you don't know. If you like them so much, it's not a reason to put your name next to them. Still wait, and then so yeah, it's a solid point. So but still, like, you if I'm not mistaken, yesterday made a post that you want to have a bit, time out and think about your creativity more, think about your stuff more, think about
Yeah.
everything more. And you have already have this money that will allow you to make this post, right? So what do you think, like, what can bring other creators to the same point? Like, of course, like, we should watch the project with who we align in, but I still feel like it's when you grew a bit, so
Mm, mm, mm.
so you need to have this stage with just earning money on your blog, because how else you can be confident in it? With the receiving money, you have money for delivering your content on next level and next level and next level. So that's why I don't respect companies that ask you to help them but don't pay you nothing, because
Mm.
come on, who will take care then about me and my content?
Yeah.
It should be like this: you helping me, I helping you. So what do you think about this, by the way? Do
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
this promotion just because? No, of course you do, because you like project, you do, right?
Right. 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 Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but how to creators can be on the same point as you after time? How you
Yeah.
balancing it?
So I've actually, this is where my music career kind of comes in, right? Because
Mm,
one, I've I got really serious with music when I graduated college back in 2019. I graduated with an audio engineering degree, associate's degree in audio engineering. And in my like 2 to 3 years of being in the music industry as an engineer, I
Mhm.
realized that one, if you really want to monetize off music, you're gonna have to like really understand like the music business and fundamental side of things. And at the time, like I was 20-ish years old, 21 years old. And I remember my mission at the time wasn't necessarily to like blow up and become rich off music. And if I'm being honest, music to me is a creative passion. And there's like it's one of those things where even if you take money out of the equation, I'll still be making music. I'll still be making beats. Like I just love music in that sense. But I had this fixated mindset of like I want to be able to come become rich off music. But and Ira, I know you're an artist yourself, but I don't know if you can like speak for or agree with me on this. But music is super hard when you're starting off, especially when you're trying to monetize. Like even if we're talking numbers real quick, Spotify for 1 million streams doesn't even pay someone like $50,000, whatever. It's only like $1,000, and
Mhm.
and so I was like, maybe I need to do something different here, you know. And this is like one of my biggest life lessons that I've learned is when it comes to pursuing like a creative passion, you really need to have a financial cushion to survive off from, And like if there's a piece of advice to give people, like how did I get to where I was today, is
Mhm.
like I grinded till I was able to kind of like survive. And this is the thing too, right? I know people in this space work to survive. That's what it is. Like the
Mhm.
world in general positions us as humans to work in order to survive. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, we need money as a currency to buy things, buy groceries, buy food, pay the bills, to have a roof over our head, whatever it may be, you know? And so that's like the non-changing variable in life. It's like that is always a constant variable happening for
Yeah.
everyone. And so I learned that in my music journey is like if I want to go full-time music, I can't be quote unquote like broke pursuing this because I'm going to be struggling so hard to pay for gas to go to the studios, pay for food when I go on a break. Like all these little things start to add up and I was like, man, I barely have enough to do all of this. And so for me, it's like I learned you need to have a cushion capital. I call it the cushion capital, right? And it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be an excessive amount of cash. It really, like, if you're smart with your money, you can probably survive off of like 10K for like 3 to 6 months if you're really smart with your money. So that to me is kind of like what kind of helped me and what led to my posts of me taking, like, saying that I'm taking a break from space hosting is like, this is my version of taking a break from what I do for work for survivability. And
Mhm.
now I'm putting time into passions and things that I genuinely want to do. And like this is something that like sparks and reignites my creative meters. And I'll be honest too, Ira, like after doing spaces for almost 2 years straight, like spaces is such a social draining thing. And
I
I
know.
was doing like 10 to 15 spaces
Yeah.
a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize over time that yes, while the money was looking really good, I'm so grateful for to be able to make this much from what I'm doing. But at what cost am I doing this for? I was doing it at the cost of my own self, my own creative meters. And, you know, I feel like the kid inside me was starting to lose like that fight for what I believe is cool and what I think is passionate, what I'm passionate about,
Mhm.
you know? So this break that I'm gonna take next month is like me resetting myself and me quote unquote finding my passion again and like what reignites my drive to show up here in this space. So that's what kind of led me to that. But my practical advice is, you know, grind, learn how to, if you're a person that is currently looking to make an income, solve that issue first, right? Take
Yeah.
care of yourself first. And then as time goes on, you're able to survive a little bit, then go pursue your creative passions. That's how I kind of look at that.
I super agree with you because I noticed for myself when in stress, you can create any new idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do nothing. So when you don't have money, you're in stress constantly. So that's why they say in all books like poor staying poor, etc. Because you constantly in stress. You're like you're circling your thoughts all the time in the same way. So I'm super agree with you that you need to lock you in on some time, still doing something you believe in, still like do not sell your soul, right? Because you can do this if you're a person who has soul, because I believe like some people don't have the same
Yeah.
sensitivity, and then they somehow surviving without this type
Mm,
of questions for themselves. But if you have soul, you can do nothing with it. You
yeah.
can just hide it. You will be in depression after some time doing something that you don't like 100%. So talking about this and burning out, by the way, you said like of course spaces like it's not something that you like really really want to do whole your life. As you said, like music is your passion, and I'm sure like by the way now every brand will hire you as a DJ for the event, something like this. So this goal is we can say achieved as well, by hosting spaces and everything. So yeah, you need to work on something that still aligned with your goals. I really believe so. So what did you do with burnout? Did you have this? And yeah, what helped you? What's your source of energy? Because I know that you also read these books about how to oh my god, non-fiction books, how
Yeah.
to find motivation, something like this. You posting sometimes what you're reading, and yeah, is it your source of energy, and what if not?
Yeah. Honestly, my source of energy when I especially when I'm facing burnout is just like spending time with family. And I myself, like, I consider myself like an athlete. I love physical sports. Like, I know people in Europe, you guys call it football, but over here in the States, we call it soccer. And since I was a kid, like 6 years old, I've been playing soccer from like 6 years old to all the way up to like 17, 18. And then now I'm just getting into like other sports like pickleball and other things. I like to work out. Like, being active has really helped me stay grounded, especially here in crypto. Like in crypto, man,
Yeah,
we sit hours behind our desk, like just talking to people, creating content. And in my opinion, it needs to be balanced out with like a physical activity or something outside of that. And so
I agree
whenever
with you.
whenever I get out, whenever I face burnout, honestly too, is like just spend time off the app, like really. And that's the issue in this space as well, is like I know FOMO is like so incredibly high, especially during a bull market, but
Mhm.
there is nothing more important than your mental health. Like, what's the point of being in crypto if your mental health isn't even on point? Like, if you want to really be successful in crypto, your mental, it needs to be on point too. So again, it's like taking care of these internal things in order for the external things to make sense. And if I feel like your internal things aren't taken care for, your results and your performance and how you do things on the external side, it's gonna show like how low of a quality like you are putting out of certain things. So that's my way of kind of like treating burnout, is accepting that you are, one, burnt out, and two, just take time off the app. I know it's so common, people say touch grass. I love that, actually, like touch grass all the time. But really, like, whatever your version is of touching grass. Like, for example, I made this post the other day as well, where it's like I played video games until 3 to 4 in the morning the other
Astonished.
day, and like I haven't freaking done that in years, because I was
I
just
feel
so
you on
like
this. Yeah.
I was so committed to just grinding and working hard, hustling, and not. But I'm like, okay, what's the point of doing all this if I'm not enjoying my journey, if I'm not enjoying the process? So when I was doing that, when I played video games till 3, 4 in the morning, I felt fucking amazing. It felt so good, and I was like, I want to do this more often.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, just be more realistic of yourself. So that's how I kind of view that as well. Yeah.
I love to hear it, and I have pretty the same point of view on it. Sometimes I feel sorry that I can't play with guys, but I understand like what's on the first place right now for me, and yeah, just it's normal to make a choice. It's normal to make a choice for your future. Let's say so. So yeah, really nice to hear. And sometimes I work in, especially right now, like I think like 17 hours per day, and then I'm like at the end of the day I'm like watching back and like I didn't have a time to leave today, so I actually didn't leave today, so I just threw this day for something, for the reason. So that's why for me, for example, it's so important to have this weekend days that I don't touch my phone, or touching my phone but don't think about crypto at all. I don't answering to no one, and don't like belong to no one. So I just take my 2 days when I'm just chilling. But also I noticed like it's hard when you just grow in your brand to do this like 2 days off, because
Yeah.
Twitter doesn't help you with alga at all. So you just need to take one at least full day off, that's why important IRL friends. So as you said, you don't have many Web3 friends, but IRL friends super important. I
Yeah.
understood it for myself as well.
Yeah.
Super.
One thing I want to add, Ira, is like, first
Mhm,
of all, to the previous question about this whole like culture and web, like working culture in Web3.
mhm,
In crypto, I feel like, especially for the men, like as a guy myself, a lot of guys proliferate this hustle hard, work hard, grinding 24/7 culture, you know? And like as a kid, as I was growing up, like that's what I was kind of raised with as well. Because I look at my parents. My parents are so two hardworking individuals. Like I love them to death, and I'm forever grateful for them being an example of what hard work looks like. And so when you grow up with that mindset, you start to apply that to your own work, and you start to believe that, okay, in order for me to be successful, I need to be working hard every single day. I need to be grinding, etc. You know, a part of me still has that, but I would say as of like the recent years, I really started to let go of that belief that I need to be working hard every single day, and that it's okay to have days where you don't feel like doing nothing. And if anything, like rest is as productive as being productive. If what I just said just makes sense, right? So like on those days where you don't feel like doing anything, that's okay, right? And here's another thing, like too, it's like it's all about your mindset. Like if you are truly here for the long term, then these little periodical breaks shouldn't
mhm.
even bother you, because
Yeah.
you're playing the 5 to 10 year game. Everyone, maybe I can't speak for everyone else, but like maybe the majority of people here are only here for the bull run, and then they go somewhere else when crypto is down, and they only come back when things are going up. And so I have that mindset of like, I'm here for the long run. So when I take these breaks, it doesn't necessarily phase me as much anymore. Like, yes, there's so many opportunities that come out every single day, but like I said earlier, there's always going to be the next opportunity, you know? And
Mhm,
and one thing too, I want to add to like another point here is I think it's important for creators that are trying to go full time in this space to, one, like, don't think that it is immediately all sunshines and rainbows when you're doing a full time, like, especially full time creator. I think if anything, like, I love this joke where it's like people left their 9 to 5 to go 24/7 in crypto.
yeah,
you know,
100%, yes.
that's like the trade-off that people don't really realize is like you're trading in a job that was actually paying you well, but then when you go into full-time Web3, kind of like how the market is so volatile, the jobs and careers in this space is also super volatile. Like there's months, Ira, where I didn't get one brand deal, not even one. And there's months where suddenly an influx of brand deals are coming in. So this job is literally is super unstable compared to like having a solid 9 to 5. And so I just want to share like the realistic side of being a full-time creator is like it's really like it sounds cool when people talk about it and when you tweet about it, but when it comes to actually doing the work, it's a whole different ball game, you know? And so
Mhm.
I want people to know that because I feel like in Web3, people proliferate this, I'm full-time Web3, I'm full-time creator, you know, I get to do whatever I want. That's true. That's true, right? But what are you really doing behind the scenes to make all of this happen? You have to wear so many hats. You have to be a marketer, you have to be the content creator, you have to be the editor, you have to be, you know what I'm saying? There's so many hats you have to wear in this space. And so having again this realistic approach to this space is so important. But yeah, I just wanted to share that.
That's brilliant, and I'm so happy to talk with you about this because it's bothered me, and I thought like, maybe I'm the one, because that's why important to still have some Web3 friends to talk, about stuff like this, because once on my friend's wedding, like at the start of this month, we was, just talking with normie people who is just not in crypto. Some of them in crypto, but mostly we are just in marketing, something like
Mhm.
this. So we talk about like they're all successful people and everything. So we talk about our stuff, how to brand, about brand building and everything. And I felt myself so good. We talk about like many stuff. I learned from these guys a lot. Then I back to crypto. And it was like I took a break for 3 days, something for the wedding because we went to a villa where we lived with these friends and talk about everything. So then I back to crypto, and I was so inspired like that. I will build like my marketing strategies for the brand further. I was like this like a flower. And then I opened my timeline, and I immediately felt such a tense, such a FOMO, such
Mm,
people here are literally like it's super like you feel this exhaustion from
yeah.
everything. So and you can see this difference by talking with normal people and back to crypto. Guys, if you want to be like successful and rich by entering full-time Web3 content creator, also yes, consider that you'll be exhausted. You will be like this, looking for brand deals, etc. And it's and at the same time trying to not betray yourself. So it's it's super complicated.
Yeah, yeah. The other day, and first of all, I want to shout out. So there's this upcoming abstract project, or it's already been out there. It's called Moonsheep, and I'm
Mhm,
actually wearing the brand because the founder Dan, he owns a clothing brand. It's called Sadire.
mhm,
So first of all, shout out to Dan. But the reason I'm bringing him up is because I had dinner with him. I think on last Thursday. Yeah, last week on Thursday,
mhm.
and it was so funny because, you know, when we both come from Web3, but then it's like when you link up with someone from Web3 and you just almost have this really nice, like organic time with them, you realize that everything that happens on this app is so like it's so different from the reality of this world. And
Yes.
and you say it so well, Ira, like this exhaustion, right? Like this feeling of like, ugh, like, oh my gosh, there's so much that I've missed. And that messes a lot with your mental. Like it
Yeah.
really it dictates how you look at the timeline of the day, you know? So this is why again, like it's so important to like really spend time outside of this app because you never like and there's so many such cases like Kermit the other day or the other week almost lost his entire account from a suspension, you know? So it's like all of our platforms here can literally disappear in one click one day. Then it's like, okay, then what happens next? You know, like what is the next thing for us? So, you know, distribute, go on other social platforms, try other different platforms out, build other audiences.
Yeah.
And you know, crypto Twitter is not the only place where you can be successful. There's so many other places as well.
Talking about that, when you see what's going on with the Web3 space and with crypto space, because you definitely can see the picture bigger than maybe we, because you're working with the best brands, etc. So you have, I think, more information about this. Is it inspire you, or like what trends do you see with the project? Do you see how this field actually developing, or you see like everything is pretty like circling and everything like again and again over and over the same, and we were waiting for 2021 vibes that we just to had only once per our life, and then we're waiting for it all the time and mentioned it all the time when we see something active. What's going on with crypto and Web3? Is it inspiring you, or right now it's how for you?
You know, man, this is like the biggest question I've been asking myself. And if I'm being truly honest, like this is a thought. Like I don't even have this written out yet, but this is a thought in my head. Is like I genuinely believe that I really don't belong as far as like a creator in Web3 because
Mm,
where I want to be at is in this intersection of both Web3 and Web2. Like I don't want to be fully crypto native. And if anything that I've learned in my music career, like when I used to DJ, there
mm,
was and when I was DJing at these clubs and these events, I realized there's this same familiar vibe of communities and how I see NFT projects. Like I look at NFT projects like these brands as the DJs, and then the communities is like the audience, like the fan base that shows
mhm,
up for these DJs, you know? So I was like, maybe my purpose, maybe in life in general, but my purpose and what I'm trying to do is I want to build a really cool community that exists in both Web3 and Web2, you know?
mm,
And I feel like right now, like my calling in the world right now is like not to quit Web3, but to start positioning BAWSA as a brand and build BAWSA as a brand in Web2 so that I can form and build this bridge that people, creators, producers, DJs, artists from both Web3 and Web2 can connect in this hub, in this platform that I
mm,
want to build, you know? And that's kind of like my next big thing that I'm working on for this next month or so is like I want to turn brick by brick into an actual platform where both creators, artists, whatever you may be, from Web3 or Web2, can coexist in this one
mm,
platform, you know? And that's my biggest strength. I realize one of my biggest strengths is community building. Like I want to hone in on that. And I think by building that platform and maybe creating content for my Instagram more than my X right now is a little bit more important because at the end of the day, like Web3 content is its own siloed bubble, you know, and where I want to go with this is beyond that. So right now I'm at the time of my life where I'm like, I want to start experimenting and start distributing content in other platforms. And that's how I'm gonna approach this next stage. But yeah, that's how I kind of look at this. Like, and honestly, I feel like I don't even know if I answered your question, but
you answered.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was, I'm just surprised how we are, similar to each other because I feel the same. I don't feel like I belong only to crypto
Mm,
space. And sometimes, like, I follow some guys who writing about crypto, but mostly about lifestyle, something like this.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel so sad when I see that they decided to go full in crypto, and I'm like, no, please, I need this human contact. I need something personalized. So yeah, if you need some karaoke content creators, you can also reach me. And also I'm working on my music right now with the guys who are constantly going on my spaces and sing with me. We're working with them on the music, so we'll be happy to collab on this
Yeah,
too.
I
So
love
let's
that.
make a final blitz questions. You can answer shortly or and explain your answers in
Yeah.
some words. We can do this. We do this with every my guest. So let's start. So what will you choose? Full doxing or full anonymous, like full undoxing
Hmm.
everywhere?
Definitely. I'll go full docs. I'll go full
Full
docs. Like I'll
doxing.
even post like my dog type of dog. So yeah, I'll go full docs.
By the way, okay. I want to ask this question. Full centralization or full decentralization? What will you
Hmm.
choose?
I would say decentralization when it comes to owning your content and your own data.
Mm-hmm.
But I like when there's a centralized hub, like a platform, you know, like
Yeah.
if X was centralized, but then they decentralize the data, like our content, like our followers, then that's cool. But right now it's fully centralized, you know. So
Mhm.
I would say I'm like 90% decentralized and then 10% centralized. Yeah.
I love it. I think I agree with it. Okay, if you would meet Satoshi Nakamoto, what would you ask or say to him?
Oh man. Does this mean like if I meet him today, like if I met him today?
Yeah,
Hmm. If I met him today, what would I say?
you
I would
finally know who is it, so you can ask something.
I would be like I would be like, "Give me your Bitcoin price prediction in 10 years." And I think depending on that, I'll buy Bitcoin. But but honestly, like I don't know what I would ask him. I really don't know what I would ask him. Like if anything, I wouldn't even ask him anything. I would just compliment him and be like, "Hey, thank
Yeah.
you for creating Bitcoin because this is why we're all here, right? We're all here because of what Bitcoin has started." So yeah, I don't think I would ask him anything, but more of a compliment.
Okay, okay. Then next thing that I doing with my every guest, I will ask you to record message for yourself in a year,
Mm,
and then year after you may back to this video and we'll watch it and we'll say like, oh my god, or oh yeah, I did it, or something like this.
I
And I will
love
put you
this.
on the
Yeah,
big screen because I love how to, and this. Okay, I will tell you after. Let's
I
go.
love this. I love this. Yeah. So, to a year from now, Bossa, I really hope one that you finally pursued the idea of building the platform for Brick by Brick. Two, I hope you actually started building a following again on Instagram. And two and three, I hope you're really just happy. You're pursuing your passions, what you want to be doing. I hope you're still doing music. I hope you're still again connecting with people on this app. But ultimately, just make sure you're remaining true to yourself. You keep doing what you're doing, and from there, the life will kind of unfold for you. But yeah, that'll kind of be like my 1 year from now message to myself.
I love it. In this, the way I imagine how a person talking with themselves, with the mirror, and that's pretty interesting to feel people differently, how they talk
Yeah.
with themselves. So that's interesting. Okay, then my last question is, what's your favorite music track?
Mm, my favorite music track right now. I'm gonna say my own. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I man, this is such a hard question, Ara, because I listen to so many different
I know,
music
I
every
know.
single day. Um, I'm gonna go with 10 by Fred again.
10
There
different.
10 by Fred again. There's like if you listen to that track, there's just something about the key of the song that just sounds so beautiful to my ears. And I listen to that track whenever I just I whenever I'm just happy, whenever I feel like I got good vibes around me, I just play that track 10 by Fred again. And it's
I found it. I will
yeah,
listen after space.
yes, it's one of my favorite tracks for now, but I'll choose that track out of the many in my head.
Thank you so much. It was really amazing conversation. I will put it on some, small pieces with the
Yes.
you will upload it to my timeline, and it was really awesome. I think this conversation really helpful for every content creators to just not feel ourselves alone. To understand like every content creator feel it, every content creator faced with it, and it's just part of our business, if you can say so, because
Yeah.
sometimes when I think about, oh my god, web3 is better this, better this, I think like, I worked before with fashion, with magazines, and I think it's exactly the same. It's exactly the
Mm,
same when just field starting to develop. We can see all these shortcomings, we can see all this bad stuff, but it just means like this field is developing and we have a ton of people with who we need to learn how to communicate and everything.
yeah.
So thank you so much. It's really was awesome conversation. Any final words, maybe?
I just want to say thank you, Ira. Honestly, like I, one, not to get super deep into this, but when I made that decision to take a break from spaces, I felt like there was this alignment in the world where certain people and certain things started to fall into place. And it
Mm,
was so funny because I mentioned the guy Dan that I met up for dinner last Thursday. And I
mm.
think that same day was when you, or the other days prior to that, you reached out to me asking me about a podcast. And so I think that the moment I made that decision was when I started finally connecting with people that have similar views as me. And so I
Mhm.
feel like this interaction between us was like it was meant to happen. It was this stream, this podcast, it was meant to happen today. And so I want to thank you for one being an awesome like host, and two, I would love to hear your music one day. Like I had to tune into one of your
I hope
karaoke nights
so.
and like and hear your vibes, and maybe one day as well. Like I'm an audio engineer. I would love to have you in the booth and just make music together one day. I think that would be so sick.
Thank you for this words at first, but I didn't consider my space as something serious for a long time. I thought like, come
Mm,
on, I'm doing singing space. Who can with who I can collab? But then I'm like, come on, people love it. I love it too. I need to just find people with the same values as me. And I started, and it like right now it's super great because almost every my space is sponsored by someone, and we collabing with a lot of brands who is like they have the same views and vision and vibes. So I want to create something big from this project as well. I don't know what yet, but I'm working on it. And yeah, thank you for your kind words. Definitely will be happy to support you further and happy to connect with you.
absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Guys, thank you everyone who watching us on Abstract on X, and you can find this record on YouTube always. So